By the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire stood on the brink of collapse. Civil war, invasion, plague, and economic crisis nearly tore the empire apart. Emperors rose and fell in rapid succession, and for a time, it seemed like Rome itself might not survive. It was only through sweeping reforms under emperors like Diocletian that the empire stabilized long enough for a new chapter in Roman history to begin. In 312 AD, a man named Constantine claimed to see a divine vision before battle, a cross in the sky with the words, "In this sign, conquer." That battle changed everything, and just a few years later, he'd commissioned one of Rome's last great triumphal monuments, one that still stands just steps from the Colosseum.
Behind me is the Arch of Constantine, built in 315 AD to commemorate his victory at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, a battle which he claimed was won with divine aid and was a turning point not just for his reign, but for the entire empire.
The arch commemorates Constantine's defeat over Maxentius, but what makes it remarkable is that much of it wasn't new. It's actually a patchwork of monuments from past emperors, Hadrian, Trajan, and Marcus Aurelius, a visual appropriation of their glory to legitimize his own.
Although it's the largest of the triumphal arches, you can't help but wonder why he decided to reuse these relics, and if it exemplifies that Rome was truly in its winter and not able to match the grandeur and splendor and capabilities of earlier eras.
And yet, the triumphal arch itself would long outlive the empire that created it. From Paris to London and beyond, monumental arches inspired by Rome would continue to rise across the world for centuries after the empire's fall. But Constantine's most enduring legacy would not be found in stone. It would be found in a faith that would transform the empire and shape the course of history for centuries to come. In 313 AD, the Edict of Milan legalized Christianity across the Roman world. Persecution stopped, churches began to rise, and within a few decades, Rome, once the seat of Jupiter and Mars, became the heart of Christianity. But Constantine didn't just support the faith, he also helped define its new seat of power. He commissioned the first St. Peter's Basilica, built over the spot where the Apostle Peter was believed to be executed. It would become the spiritual heart of the Catholic world for millennia. With Constantine's legalization of Christianity and his monumental support, Rome began to transform from a city of emperors to a city of saints.
Let's now head up to Vatican Hill and to the smallest country in the world, Vatican City. We're now standing in St. Peter's Square, in the shadow of the largest basilica in the Catholic world. And it is also the holiest place in Christendom, and it is an absolutely lovely sight here at sunset.
Long before St. Peter's Basilica rose above Vatican City, this was the Imperial Gardens of Agrippina, where Caligula later built a circus, which was then expanded by Nero himself. After the Great Fire of 64 AD devastated much of Rome, Nero needed someone to blame, so he pointed the finger at a growing religious sect, the Christians. Here on this hill, he unleashed brutal executions. Tradition holds that Peter, one of Jesus' closest followers, was crucified upside down on this very slope. He was buried nearby, and centuries later, Constantine built a church over his tomb. That church would eventually be replaced by the Renaissance masterpiece we have today.
It's truly an impressive square, and at its heart is one of the most mysterious obelisks here in Rome.
At its center stands an Egyptian obelisk, originally brought to Rome by Caligula. This is the only one without any inscriptions in Rome, so it's a bit of a mystery as to its heritage, and at roughly 330 tons, was brought over on a specially designed transport ship from Egypt. Once a silent witness to Nero's executions here in this circus, it now marks the spiritual center of the Catholic world.
The obelisk here in St. Peter's Square is just one of many scattered across the city, some original Egyptians and others Roman copies.
Rome holds more ancient Egyptian obelisks today than Egypt itself, statements of power, conquest, and continuity. These monoliths were brought from cities like Heliopolis and Thebes, sometimes commissioned by emperors like Augustus or Domitian, and placed at key locations to proclaim imperial grandeur. Each one marked Rome not just as a political capital, but as the spiritual successor of the ancient world.
Here in Piazza del Popolo is the first Egyptian obelisk that was brought to Rome by Emperor Augustus at the end of the 1st century BC to commemorate his conquest of Egypt.
And later, the Lateran obelisk, the tallest still standing ancient Egyptian obelisk in the world, was originally erected at Karnak before being shipped down the Nile, across the Mediterranean, and re-erected here in the heart of Rome.
Here atop the famous Spanish steps, you'll find another obelisk, but this one isn't actually ancient Egyptian. This is a Roman fake. And if you want a great view of the obelisk, I recommend one of the rooftop bars nearby, which we stopped at last year on our Thirsty History tour. Sadly, I'm here a bit too early this year before it opened here in the hot summer, so we'll have to come back on the next round.
And it wasn't just Egyptian obelisks that fascinated the Romans. After the conquest of Egypt, Roman elites became captivated by its ancient culture and monuments. One magistrate, Gaius Cestius, was so inspired that he built himself an Egyptian-style pyramid tomb, a monument that still rises above the streets of Rome today. These Egyptian monuments were more than just trophies of conquest. Over the centuries, they became part of Rome's evolving identity, transformed from symbols of empire into monuments of papal Rome. As the empire faded, these monuments endured. Centuries later, during the Renaissance, Rome experienced a rebirth. Artists, scholars, and architects rediscovered the glory of the ancient world.
Honestly, anywhere in Rome, you could find something remarkable. Just behind us, down the river, that broken bridge, the oldest still standing in Rome.
Let's head past the old Ponte Roto and make our way up to one of my favorite views in the entire city.
And what's better than to come full circle than back here on the top of the Capitoline Hill?
For over a millennia, the Capitoline Hill was the symbolic heart of ancient Rome. But centuries later, during the Renaissance, this same hill became the stage for Rome's rebirth. It was Michelangelo himself who reimagined this space, designing the Piazza del Campidoglio with its sweeping trapezoidal shape and elegant palaces as a civic center worthy of the ancient world. And it became the place to the first public museum in Rome, the Capitoline Museums.
In the center is the incredible statue of the equestrian Marcus Aurelius. This is a copy, but the original is just inside the Capitoline Museum in front of me. Let's go have a look. Here it is, the only surviving bronze equestrian statue from antiquity. Thank God they mistook Marcus for Emperor Constantine. So we have this remarkable statue still for us today here in the museum. It's also incredible as the horse still has quite a bit of the gilding on it. You can just imagine how beautiful this must have been and how spectacular when it was entirely gilded in antiquity.
Within this wonderful museum, you'll also find treasures like the Capitoline wolf, the dying Gaul, busts of emperors and philosophers, and much more, all echoing the greatness of the ancient city. Not far from here, the Renaissance revival took visual form in one of the Vatican's greatest masterpieces, Raphael's School of Athens, which gathered the great thinkers of antiquity in a painting that celebrates the rediscovery of classical wisdom under the patronage of the church. And just across the city, in the leafy calm of the Villa Borghese, the same spirit of revival comes alive in sculpture. The Galleria Borghese holds some of the most stunning Renaissance and Baroque art in the world, like Bernini's Apollo and Daphne, frozen mid-transformation, and Caravaggio's vivid biblical scenes, dramatic and shadowed. And perhaps nothing feels more poetic on our journey through Rome than Bernini's Aeneas and Chryses and Ascanius. Here the Trojan prince Aeneas, son of the goddess Venus, carries his aging father to safety while leading his young son towards an uncertain future as Troy burns behind them. According to Rome's founding tradition, from Aeneas' bloodline would come Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome, a story later immortalized in Virgil's Aeneid.
Although these aren't ancient, Bernini's sculptures are just absolutely incredible and really brings to life the ancient scenes from mythology, like the Apollo and Daphne. The Hades and Persephone is absolutely stunning as well. Just a remarkable sculpture. Really brings to life that moment of her capture.
These masterpieces echo the movement and myth of antiquity, reinterpreted through the lens of rebirth. Nearly everywhere you look in Rome, something ancient survives. Rome was never just one city. It was a republic, then an empire, then the heart of the Christian world. And through all that, it remained, sometimes in ruins, sometimes in glory, but always here. That's why they call it the Eternal City. Even today, the title Pontifex Maximus, once held by Julius Caesar himself, still lives on, passed down not to emperors, but to popes. The legacy of Rome never truly ended, it's just transformed.
Thanks so much for joining me as we explored the streets and stories of ancient Rome. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. There's still so many more places I want to explore. This was just the tip of the iceberg. It's almost unending here in this city. It's really, really remarkable. So let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see next. I'm keen to come back for more stories in one of the world's most extraordinary cities.
And if you'd like to join us on future journeys through places like these and explore them in person, be sure to sign up to the mailing list below for future tours and updates.
And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below. It really helps this channel grow and get to the right people who want to learn these stories before they come and explore these remarkable cities across the world. Thanks again, and until next time, this is Ancient Eyes Odyssey. Take care. After the last few days exploring Rome in the sweltering summer heat here in August, I thought it was time to have a break, enjoy a spritz on a rooftop terrace, the one my friend Thirsty History and I failed to find last year, although we did have the nice view overlooking the Spanish Steps. So it's time to relax, enjoy a nice cold beverage, and some rocks on the floor here overlooking these ruins. Until next time, stay thirsty history, my friends.